How's it going, everybody? It's me, Arctic, and in today's video we're going to be going over a complete weapons guide for Nilou. We're basically going to be talking about the weapons that I think are going to be the best to use on her. And yeah, Nilou being a Hydra sword character is pretty interesting. She is kind of a DPS in a way, but I think mainly what she's going to be used for is running her with like other characters, like Dendro characters, and that is going to get you the most use out of stuff using her elemental mastery type stuff on her. So if you don't know how we do our weapons guides, we basically start off with the blues first, and then we go through the purples and the golds. In terms of what we're looking to build on Nilou, she does scale all of her damage with HP percent, so that is something that we can actually look to when we're selecting a weapon. I think weapon main stats like ER and EM are going to be very good if you are using her in an elemental reaction combo team with Dendro, which is basically what her main purpose is. So out of the blues, the Harbinger of Dawn I think is going to be a weapon that you can actually choose. Considering that she doesn't scale with attack in terms of her damage, a lot of the blue weapons can actually become viable. But this one basically does is it gives you this bonus crit damage. So you get like a lot of good crit damage right here, like 46%, which is actually a pretty substantial amount. But the main reason I would use this one is because this does give you a lot of crit rate bonus, as long as your HP is above 90%. And also, since Nilou is a HP scaling character, you are going to have lots of HP on her, thus making it a lot easier to stay above this 90% threshold. Rate is going to balance out your build a whole lot on Nilou, so this is kind of falling into more of the damage, I would say, in terms of your build. Now getting into the 4-star options, the sacrificial sword I think is going to be a pretty viable weapon to use on her, considering that her E skill is where most of her, I guess, damage comes from. So if you are able to keep her E skill up a lot, you're going to be able to keep her burst up a lot, thanks to the increased energy recharge from this weapon. You get like 61% actually. So you do get a lot of energy recharge off of this, so that's very good. And yeah, it can basically have a chance to reset the cooldown of your E skill, which is pretty important on Nilou. It does have like an 18-second cooldown, so that you're going to be able to get a lot of benefit as long as you're able to actually trigger this. Really, I think this falls into kind of a more balanced build on your Nilou, looking for more like burst damage, because you're going to have your burst up a lot more, looking for like more E damage, that kind of stuff. The Iron Sting is a weapon that I think will be pretty good on Nilou as well, considering that this is going to have a lot of elemental mastery. It does have a medium base attack, which base attack doesn't really matter on Nilou anyway, but you do get 165 bonus EM, which is quite a substantial amount, especially if you're going for the whatever it is, like hypergrow kind of reactions. Nilou actually does have a special kind of souped up blossom kind of attack thing with one of her passives, so this is, I think, going to help out with the damage on those, which I think is where most of her like sub DPS and Dendro team comp support actually comes from. This weapon also is going to give you increased elemental damage stacks. Basically, you get a maximum of 2 stacks of these, and these last basically for 6 seconds, so that's whenever you do elemental damage. So regardless of the elemental damage type, you're going to be getting this bonus elemental damage stacks. The Black Sword is from the Battle Pass, and I think this one is actually going to be a pretty solid option to use on her as well, mainly because you're going to be getting this good amount of crit rates. You do get up to 27% of crit rates, which is going to basically substantially buff out your crit rate a good amount. And also additionally, it regenerates 80% of attack as HP when normal charge attack hits score a critical hit. So that's just a little bit of a bonus effect right here. But yeah, this weapon's kind of just a stat stick for that crit rate. If you have a Festering Desire laying around, I think this weapon could be pretty good for a balanced build, going for more of a Harbinger of Dawn style kind of weapon. But if you don't have one of those high refined, but you have one of these high refined, this gives you like 45% ER right here. So it's not giving you crit rate technically, but it makes up for that, which is passive right here, which increases your elemental skill damage, and also increases your elemental skill crit rate, which if you're going for a lot of damage from your Nilou's E skill, I think this is definitely going to benefit you quite a bit. The Supwood Blade. So this weapon comes with energy recharge as a substat, and it gets that all the way up to 30 right here. It does have, and then the effect of this, basically whenever you trigger any Dendro related elemental reaction, you're going to be getting extra 60 points of elemental mastery for 12 seconds, and basically you can only get 1 stack of this every 20 seconds. At R5 you can get up to 120 elemental mastery from this, so it's not that bad of an amount, although this weapon overall I don't think is going to be like a go-to weapon, I would say, for her. Moonlight, this one comes with elemental mastery, and it goes all the way up to 165. You get a 510 base attack, so you're definitely getting a bit more elemental mastery than you would if this was a higher base attack. And the passive on this, let's see, the following effect will trigger every 10 seconds. The wing character will gain this amount of energy recharge for each point of elemental mastery they possess for 12 seconds. Nearby party members gain 30% of this buff for the same duration. Multiple instances of this weapon can allow for this buff to stack. This effect will trigger even if the character is not on the field. So not being on the field, that's pretty good. This will be good for like, your energy recharge basically. If you do plan on running a high elemental mastery Kokomi build, which I think is honestly going to be pretty good because most of her damage, or like most of her team damage, is actually going to come from her elemental reactions with Dendro mostly. Now getting into the 5-star options, the Skyward Blade is going to be a great option to use on her if you just want something in general that's going to be relatively good overall. So we got 55% energy recharge, which is going to be a substantial amount, basically keeping your burst up a very good amount of time. This has 4% crit rate on its passive, and then whenever you cast your burst, you're going to get increased movement speed, attack speed, and normal and charge attacks deal this additional attack. Remember, I don't think that Kokomi actually has normal and charge attack damage when she's using like her E skill, but if it does actually end up triggering, because it says when you like use it, it might actually consider it as a normal and charge attack trigger while still being like E skill damage. That could be actually pretty interesting to stack with this skill. The Freedomsworn is probably going to be one of the more go-to options, I would say, for an elemental mastery Nilou build. This just gives you the highest amount of elemental mastery, and its passive is also very good for buffing out your team damage. You get like an increase of 10% damage, plus you also get these millennial movement buff that does increase your attack, basically, and like normal and charged and plunging attacks of all characters. So this is actually a pretty good thing to have if you are running Nilou with like a more main DPS charge attack type of focused character. Jade Cutter I think is going to be great if you are going for a sub DPS Nilou or just in general like crit stat build on your Nilou. Has a lot of crit rate, 44% in fact, so this is definitely a very good benefit right here. You also get 20% extra HP, so I definitely think this weapon has very good usability on that. The attack bonus you get from that doesn't really matter too much because all of her damage doesn't really come from that at all. I think this is probably going to be one of Nilou's best in slot weapons. Seppuku Futsu, this one is one of the weapons that I think Ayato actually had, and this one basically comes with crit rate as well, but the reason why I would stray away from this and go more for a Jade Cutter is because Jade Cutter does have the HP stat with it, but this one does give you that extra 12% elemental damage bonus. Now last but not least, Nilou's best in slot weapon is called the Key of Kaj Nisrut. I don't think I pronounced that wrong, but basically this is going to increase your HP. Let's see, you get a bonus HP percent at 66%. This is definitely going to be really good. That's the highest amount of HP percent you're going to get from any sword basically that's in the game. Definitely I think if you are maining Nilou, I think this is a safe bet to go for this and her at Constellation 0. I think that's probably going to be your best bet. But then yeah, we get 20% HP. When an elemental skill hits opponents, you gain Grand Hem effect for 20 seconds. This effect increases the equipping character's elemental mastery by 0.12 of their max HP. So yeah, getting extra elemental mastery based on max HP, which is going to be very nice, blending in with the rest of her kit. This effect can trigger once every 0.3 seconds. You get a maximum of 3 stacks. This effect gains 3 stacks, or when the third stack's duration is refreshed, the elemental mastery of all nearby party members will be increased by 0.2 of the equipped character's max HP for 20 seconds. So right here is a very strong ability, definitely centered around Nilou's kit. This weapon definitely is her best in slot just because it does have HP as its main stat, which is going to be the best on Nilou. So definitely would recommend this weapon if you really are a big fan of Nilou.